all, a very good morning to everyone. Myself, Ekta Sidube, and on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our presenting partner, Botminds.ai, we welcome you all and thank you for being part of our webinar, Reinventing BPO in the Next Normal 2021. So to start with, I would first like to introduce our presenting partner, Botminds, the world's first unified platform for intelligent document processing and process automation. Their goal is to help businesses understand data and take fast and accurate decisions. They use their patent-pending AI and ML technology to extract insights from documents and websites and get their customers up and running within a week. They enable end-to-end intelligent automation that is highly customizable, needs no code, and takes 90% less than standard sample data to train their engine. Using Botminds technology, their customers can build custom models to read, understand, and summarize data from documents and website within hours. Before we move on to our keynote session, I would like to highlight why we all are here today. 2020 and 2021 indeed has been a year of disruption for all, and everyone has been trying to cope up in every possible way. BPO and KPO services have always been about speed, responsiveness, understanding concerns of a lead, and offering competitive value. Our webinar, Reinventing BPO in the Next Normal, will focus on as the pandemic unfolded and how has the BPO industry responded and how flexible the industry has been in navigating innovative and pragmatic solutions to support their clients, which was the need of an hour. Next session, I would like to invite Vikas Anand, Vice President, Sales and Marketing, Botminds.ai. To speak about him, he's currently the Vice President, Sales and Marketing and has over 20 years of industry experience with HCL, Infosys, and Blue Prism. He has spent 18 years in outsourcing, consulting, and sales with global clients like Apple, Best Buy, and Deutsche Bank, to name a few. The last 5 years, Vikas has been with the RPA and intelligent automation industry, helping organizations in their digital transformation journey in identifying the right tool sets to solve their business challenges. And he's going to share his insights on reimagining knowledge process automation in the AI era. Over to you, Vikas, to start your session.
Fantastic. Morning, everyone. Anuj, thanks for the fantastic session and setting up the stage in terms of what all we need to be talking about today. So thank you so much for that. Just another confirmation. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I think the very first thing that we have kind of all driven home very clearly that we are in the age where we are definitely doing or need to do digital transformation. That's the first part. Second part is, it's also no surprise that option number 3 seems to be our biggest digital transformation driver at the moment. I mean, our CEOs and our CTOs have tried for roughly a decade or probably more to get people to get started on the digital transformation. However, the one that has kind of pushed all the way through really is coming in from the COVID-19. And that's been the reality of the situation at the moment. So with that said, let's move on the fact of, so digital transformation is kind of not new. Everybody's kind of tried and looked at that in multiple aspects. These are the drivers which have been there since forever for digital transformation. So you've got multiple workflows and multiple systems. That definitely is one reason why a lot of organizations move towards digital transformation, because everybody within the BPO, the whole idea is that you have multiple clients, and with the competition within the providers and service providers increasing, all you have to do is differentiate yourself from a different provider and say, okay, I can do this much with this less number of people, or a digital transformation can be brought in from my side slightly differently there. And so multiple clients, multiple systems, multiple setups, all those areas kind of need to be addressed there. The second key driver for digital transformation has been the quality and time. So people, processes, are all in place. The key important part there is that all the areas, all the activities kind of need to be delivered within a specific quality, and all of that needs to be done within time. The earlier decades ago, the scenario was you throw more people, more bodies at it, and you get the work done faster. But of course, that's not practical, right now. At the same time, seasonality has been one of the biggest drivers of trying to find different ways on doing things, within a BPO organization. And seasonality essentially comes in when you're talking about, retail sector, telecom sector. You got holiday season coming through. You got people that you need to ramp up. Then you have to get rid of people or allow the natural attrition to take place so that you can come back to the normal headcount. Then dependency on IT becomes another challenge because most business works on a different speed when it comes down to IT. IT may have a longer timeline, whereas business has a timeline depending and derived or defined by their respective clients. So that's been the challenge, and slow execution has been the result over there. And if that was not enough, we've got more addition coming in from the impact with COVID. Now, in COVID scenario, we've got changing work environment, as Anuj very clearly mentioned. Almost everybody's kind of aware of that. We are all at home, despite of being at a weekend, which is obviously the scenario. But the whole week, most of us are working from home, so it's remote. It's completely changed. It is very clear that this is not a blip, that we are working from home temporarily and will come back to a normal work scenario, pretty soon. And it's very clear from 2020, 2021, we're back in the same scenario that we were a year ago. So very clearly, it is here to stay. Then comes down scalability. So the more you add remote staff, now it's different to have staff that has worked with you for years and months and asking them to work remote. It's a completely different ballgame to hire a remote staff and then expect them to work at the same level that your staff that has actually seen people and seen work has worked in the organization to perform, right? So there's that challenge as well. So scalability is a challenge. More systems need to be integrated because so far everything was either running on, on-prem within a, specific data center being accessed by, an organization or BPO facility at one place. But that's kind of needs, that has changed and people need to access everything remotely. And then the efficiency scenario comes in where you have increased volumes, increased variety, support for the remote staff. Earlier, if I was a contact center agent, I could just get up, raise my hand, ask somebody a question and get help. But now I don't have that option. I need to have a process, a procedure to be able to get help immediately while I am handling a particular query or inquiry. Back office, front office, doesn't really matter. All of that kind of has changed, and we are all adopting to that scenario. And quite honestly, I think Anuj pointed out, very briefly in his talk, if anybody's thinking about digital transformation now, you're already too late, right? So the reason why I say that is that, digital transformation kind of has been, everybody's been kind of pushing that, but selling that within the organization was a challenge. Now we have that opportunity. Last year, a lot of organization, pivoted towards that, but we already need of digital transformation. So it's kind of already overdue. So it is enough most importance that we use all the possible facilities which currently exist to be able to deliver what needs to be done to get a digital transformation, to our customers, to our clients, to our staff. All right. So, but there are challenges, right? I mean, you're looking at digital transformation. There are certain things which could have been transformed, automated to a certain extent, have been done. But it is challenging when it comes down to unstructured information. The challenge with unstructured information is you got basically unstructured data, right? There's no structure to it. So you can't really put a single technology or a tool or a platform to extract values or run your transformation on the basis of. Unstructured documents usually have common pairs. I'll show you some example later on. But if you're looking at tender documents, if you're looking at RFPs coming in, they're all multiple documents, addendums, references, etc. These documents could be fairly long, so a large size, unstructured, is a very, very big piece. And of course, you can see the other pieces, the context is kind of lost. If there are multiple people working on that, so then there's no overlap. And the way it is currently handled within BPO, and all of you would, obviously are aware of that, is that we put in a lot of headcount before our current automation solution. So we have got a large headcount here, which essentially handles all this unstructured data, puts it into a place that is manageable or expected through the automation, and then the automation kicks off. But the way it happens, the largest piece of an organization, any organization that is coming in for services, a lot of that is unstructured. And this is where a lot of service providers either do not get that or have to put a lot of headcount or do not even pitch for processes which basically have unstructured information. So this could be looked at, another way of adding the additional, processes and businesses that needs to, come through. All right. With that, looking at the digital maturity, I mean, this is a very standard digital maturity model. I think it's important to ask at this time, where are you currently in this digital maturity within your organization? Are you just fighting fire, or you've just got you're organized but you kind of don't have much of an automation, or you're digitized slash automation, or you've done it in a connected way, and disconnected can be looked at in a different way with the given scenario that we are all working remotely. So that connected could be a different way rather than IoT. And then, is it intelligent? Does it self-learn? Does it need to be corrected manually, or can it go ahead and adapt to certain things? Are there facilities which are there in that place to be able to handle that? So that's a question that I believe all of the organizations kind of need to ask, all the service providers need to ask, so that they can then deliver value to their respective customers. Now, reimagining BPO, reimagining a knowledge process automation is the topic that I have today. And the way we are looking at it as Botminds, as an AI provider, as an AI first platform which offers a unified intelligent document processing and intelligent process automation as a unified platform. So the AI first approach becomes kind of very, very, very important, right? I mean, you need to be on cloud. You can't really have your systems being accessed from multiple places. Like, it's technically challenging, excuse me, but it is the need of the hour that almost everybody has access to all the areas of process, or all the areas of the platform that is actually required. The second piece is, like I mentioned, it's kind of already running. We're all running out of time to start doing the digital transformation. So there isn't enough time to try certain things, try certain pieces, and see how it works. It is important to just pick up the technology, or the technology that's available at the forefront, in this case, AI technology, and you're able to just go ahead and do it right the first time. And while doing it, I mean, BPOs have already faced this challenge since forever, whether to do a lift and shift and do a fix and shift, right? So when you're picking up a new business. So from that perspective itself, don't just look at this point from a digital transformation that I've gotten all the pieces connected. Actually look at improving it. How do you improve the process? How do you make it better and more efficient, both for your end customers as well as the users? And again, third point, don't look at just end-to-end automation, but look at changing the workflow. And this is where a redesign, comes into play. And you may go into, in terms of your, overall digital thinking in one way, and figure out, okay, I will do a design thinking and figure out what are the different things required. But at certain points, these certain pieces in terms of workflow are fairly simple as well. And at the end of it, what needs to be done in our point of view, and my point of view essentially, is that we need to look at the way of the SMEs which do the work. We need to look at a way of capturing that knowledge, building that knowledge, make it reusable, and then use that knowledge to exponentially go ahead and solve problems that come in through, or challenges that come in through. And those challenges could be in terms of your volume, in terms of different types of transactions, in terms of complicated information, etc. But basically leverage what is available, create and train your or make the platform which essentially becomes your SME, and then you can reuse them. You don't really still stay in a problem that an SME is there, he or she knows the process, then he or she moves out and you're back to square one, either in terms of finding out a replacement, etc. That's basically knowledge loss. So knowledge capture, knowledge reuse, and knowledge equity are key important pieces when it comes down to re-looking at how a BPO should work. All right. And on the next piece, you've kind of already seen use some of these pieces here. So I've kind of drawn a very simple chart here, trying to illustrate a point. There are multiple things. So at the bottom, you've got complexity. At the top, you've got the value. So the very simple automation, I think, that was kind of done when it came down to, scripts and macros and all that stuff. That's decades ago. That's kind of there. For simple, workflow, complex workflow, etc., there is the second piece that comes in, is where RPA started coming through, where you've got the structure defined, what the information is, what the output is. That's where the RPA, absolutely shone. You shined and shown from that perspective, and a lot of work got done through the RPA. Then RPA in the last 2-3 years kind of evolved as well, and that changed into shape into IPA, because the kind of areas that it could expand to got limited, because all the pieces that were documented or structured were kind of done. So we needed to look at beyond the structured information. That's where RPA plus AI came into play. But the biggest piece here, as Forrester mentioned, 80% of the documents, 80% of the data within an enterprise are all unstructured information. I believe there is a need to look at an AI-first approach here, rather than looking at the fact that there is an RPA and how do I make it fit into certain things. I think the way to look at that would be, what is the technology that's available which can handle unstructured information, unstructured data? Look at that first, and then bring in the subsequent pieces of technologies, that may be there. So the way we look at automation essentially is we look at it as a combination of speed and intelligence. Speed comes from the automation, and intelligence it still also resides within the SMEs, within the minds. And we are looking at it as a combination of both speed and intelligence. We're looking at a bot speed and mind intelligence, which is combined. When that is done and built into an AI model is what I look at. We call that as a good, complete, automation from the end there. And how we do that really is we've got AI first automation. That's the first part. Second is it's a no-code automation platform. I mentioned that speed as one of the areas or deterrents to digital transformation, and dependency on IT. IT of course needs to bless everything. InfoSec needs to do the work that they need to do. I'm talking about once it is set up, does business need to be dependent on IT to do automation on certain things? And RP has kind of made it very simple, right? To a low-code automation and no-code automation, low-code mostly. But again, the point is, having to depend on IT type people or having to hire the developers as part of your business, it's putting money from one pocket to the other, but still, you got the challenge stays the same. So what we offer is actually a no-code automation, which means you just do a point and click, and you go ahead and do the training. There are ready-made modular blocks available, so you don't start at zero. You basically start at a very good trained model, which understands, and I'll illustrate that with an example, which understands documents, tables, semantics, forms, QR codes, all the pieces are understood. And then all you do is, hey, I've got this unique document, I need to put that out. And that's the training that you provide. And of course, we provide end-to-end automation for those organizations who haven't really started in the RPA journey. We can do end-to-end piece there. But those of you who have already invested in the RPA technologies, we can go ahead and sit down and look at only the unstructured document piece and hand off everything to the RPA, so your functionality continues and the workflow is not stopped anywhere. And the key important thing is that we are able to bring this efficiency through our model, within a few weeks' time, because we have all the train pieces. You're looking at 2 to 3 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks, depending upon your scenario, and you've got an ROI sitting in at the end of that couple of weeks. Okay, so this is how our platform looks like, very roughly. I don't want it to be a large platform presentation, but I wanted to give an idea of all the things that go in, so that there's an information at your side. So that we take every single type of document. It doesn't really matter whether it's a web page, it's a web document, PDF file, scan file, large file, 1,000 pages, 500 document set. It does not matter at all. We look at that, all of it. And then we have that, document process automation platform. Our unified platform is available. And what you get at the end is your organized insight. So you're from an unstructured information, you get a structured information, and you can define whether you want an Excel, you want an API, you want it to go directly to your RPA, you want data to be normalized, or you want to just get a PDF file and push it on a web somewhere. Doesn't really matter. We can do all of that. Now, this is what you get, and that's how things can work, within weeks' time. But behind the scenes, what we already have is depending upon the requirement. So we have the IDP, which is your document AI, table AI, extraction, web page understanding, PDF understanding, all of that, is already, built in within the platform. Then we also have our AI studio, where you can create one-click AI models. The moment you add more values and you've changed something, you can create a new AI model on just one-click basis and start getting the results. And we also have a human in the loop kind of things, built in as well. So you have a verification bench, you have a business workflow, we have business validation, allowing humans to go ahead and control. So AI kind of has a bad rep in one way, that you don't know why the decision is being made. So our AI is transparent AI, which means that you, at any given point of time, what information has been fed in, on what basis a decision has been made, what is the accuracy and confidence level on a field value extracted or on a model overall. So you're able to see that, and all of that can be, it can be improved and corrected if required through human in the loop. So with this, I think I'll jump into a couple of examples immediately after this. So 4 quick steps. You give us the documents, or you put the documents by yourself. So that's ingestion. And by the way, it runs as it's a SaaS platform, so it runs on completely on a browser. And I'll talk about that after a couple of slides. So you upload the documents, so that's ingestion. The understanding is done by our platform based on all the things that you saw on the previous slide. Our semantic AI, table understanding, all of these pieces. We understand what the document is. Then you provide the training. So this training typically can last, from a couple of days to a week and a half or 2, which means that my particular document needs this information to be extracted, and that's what you train. And once you've done the training, it comes down to the extraction. So you are able to extract the value. So very simple 4-step process. You put the documents, we understand them, you train one time, and then the extraction happens. So that's your regular business there. All right. The last piece I want to talk about the platform is that ours is a horizontal platform, which simply means that you could have one Botminds AI unified platform, and that will work for almost all of your departments. So I've kind of tried to highlight here, we've got ticket classification, which is your L1, L0 ticket classification, very first problem. Invoice handling, AP, AR processes that comes through. Then you've got loan processing, market research, which is where you're talking about the information that is coming through in terms of, in the research division. You've got SEC filing, that's your financial services process. You got company comparable analysis, loan processing, whether you're running insurance business, you're running financial services business, you're running a back office business of any other sort. A single platform, essentially the same platform, can address and extract the values and handle all of these different types of industries and processes there. Very quickly, highlighted a couple of use cases. So we got done tender risk analysis. So it essentially is large tender documents coming through, a couple of 100 pages, a couple of attachments there. But what we are able to bring out on the real-time basis really is that we extract the values from all the documents, bring it out to you, and you'll see that some of that as part of my demo shortly. With that comes as a single consolidated summary that you're able to see at any given point of time. In addition to just extracting, so it's not, Botminds is not just an extraction tool. We do validation, normalization, semantic analysis, highlighting of risks, etc. So all of these pieces. So once we read, extract the information, and then we look at the fact that, okay, this seems like a higher risk, or this seems like, and that's the SME's work essentially. So this seems like something that somebody needs to look at, that gets highlighted. And then that gets followed through a workflow where you essentially get, somebody to look at that. And in this scenario, we've been able to reduce the work that was done roughly in 5 days to roughly about 5 minutes to extract the value from our side. And then 2 hours were added by a human being to go ahead and verify that before it actually goes out to the customer. So essentially, 5 days to 5 hours overall is what we are looking at here. Take another example of the accounts payable. This is something which is bread and butter for most BPOs. Some of you may already have this sorted out when it comes down to invoices. But if you're reading invoices as a screen, or a very specific invoice tailored solution, it's basically looking at position and location, and if something changes there, then you have a challenge. So we've handled challenges where tables are spanning through multiple pages. By tables, I mean invoices. Every single line item has 2 or 3 lines there. So we group the information, we bring them out into a single record. We also do normalization, like I mentioned, in tender risk analysis as well. And normalization really is this the right value? And think of it from an insurance claim standpoint. Once we've done a medical report extraction or medical bill extraction, we can go ahead and say, hey, there is a bill here for a procedure X. This procedure is not approved for this patient Y, and this amount is not approved. It's only approved to a certain extent. So that's normalization. So we can do that real time as the value, as the information is being extracted. The third one on the left is a spreading process automation. This is where you have large, high volume of annual reports, 10K filings, completely unstructured document, because you've got information written in infographics, you've got tables, you've got notes, you've got text and commentary written there. And we've kind of been able to extract 110 pieces of information from a single annual report out on the real-time basis. And of course, we've been able to do that and reduce from a human being doing it to 4 to 8 hours to a human being and Botminds platform being able to deliver that within 2 hours time. So 75% to 80% reduction in the overall piece. And it's not just that. When it comes down to augmenting SMEs work, it is basically the accuracy and the actual customer satisfaction that you're looking at the back. So a consistent accuracy, consistent delivery is also extremely important, and not just the amount of time that is saved. Last piece will be the call transcript analysis. This is a demo that I will show out of the 4 that I've talked about. And this is where we're talking about earning call transcripts. So annual report, that has been released. So annual general meeting is there, completely unstructured, because that's a couple of people having a conversation and talking about one people going ahead and announcing the earning call, saying that these are the activities which have happened. There may be certain questions. And from there, the requirement really was to highlight, extract the key thing, the important things, the mergers, the acquisitions, anything that is new, any percentages, any amount of a particular piece. So it's not just finding these numbers, but basically understanding what is the value, that what's the context in which people have been talking about. And we kind of done significant work there. And I will just run a very short demo of that now. So this is a video to make sure nothing goes wrong. I'll do a voiceover here. So we got, so this is our platform. I'm going to take a pause here. This is our platform. On the left, we upload the document. On the right, you've already seen the values have been extracted, right? So that happens, real time the moment the information comes through. All the pieces which are there on the right have been defined for this call transcript. You've got company name, merger, change in the current quarter, record name, company, etc. These are all defined per the need. And when you see, while I'm clicking on the particular information, the information is being referenced on the left-hand side. That's what we call deep linking. In this scenario, we've got this information, this particular call was talking about COVID effects as well. And you can see that somewhere on this call, when it was mentioned about COVID, that piece was picked up. EPS impact was picked up. Retail sales that got declined by a certain percentage, that will got picked up. Then you're talking about negative and positive impact of the references there. Any changes in structure, any new partnerships that have been defined, any new divestments that have been done within the division, all of the pieces have been extracted out. We haven't really gone ahead and said this is where the information is, so next time onwards pick that up. It's a semantic understanding, and you can fill out the information in all of these multiple ways, PDF files, Excel file, etc. I'm showing you an example on a PDF. It's a standard format, of course, can be customized, but it's important to understand that when you send this PDF out, the context of the information is never lost. So you have the impact amount of 26 cents to 30 cents. You click on that information there, you're taken to the platform, that respective call transcript that was, in conversation, that page, that paragraph, and that place where this information was extracted from. So that's completely available, all the way towards the extraction. And regardless whether it's a PDF or an Excel or whatever, as the case may be. So very quick highlight in terms of the demo. So to close on that, ours is a cloud-based platform. So we run on our cloud. We can run on your private cloud. The interesting thing here is that we deploy our AI in that private cloud. So that means that the information that is stored in the private cloud essentially stays with you. It never comes to Botminds for processing. And I think this is very, very important when it comes down to your GDPR and FISEC requirements, etc. And a couple of other things. I'll not read through that, but you can see over there all the other key important things for an enterprise platform to be ready. We kind of have that in place. So very simple 3 steps process. We import data, you provide examples, and you can automate the workflow. And as a result of all of that, you can essentially expect an ROI that comes to you fairly fast within a couple of weeks' time. You're looking at huge cost of savings and a huge operational efficiency. We've seen about 5x to 10x capacity. This becomes very important at this point where people are remote and people are kind of available in certain specific timelines of it. So that's the end of my part, and I'll hand it back over to Ekta. Ekta, over to you.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Just a moment.
Okay.
Just a moment. Thank you so much, Vikas, for sharing your insights. Yes, you have a question. Please address yourself, your name, introduce yourself, and put your question.
Yeah, hey, I'm Jasbir Sharma. I currently work as at Wipro in the healthcare department. So the case study that you just presented, the
Yeah.
one that had the entire transcription and it was probably taking out all the pointers from there. I mean, so
Yes.
the positives, negative. So I was just wanting to know, I mean, what is the accuracy levels that we get in through this?
Sure. Sure. So the accuracy level that we are able to deliver at the very beginning starts at about 70-75% on an average. For this scenario, we've been able to deliver a 95% accuracy.
Yeah, it
And
is
this
sort of
is
an
within,
OCR being run on it, right? And
no, it's
extract.
not. So it depends upon that. So if in this scenario, the call transcript was not an image, so it's a working PDF document, and we're able to extract that. Had it been the OCR, then the OCR quality plays another important role, just based on that, on whether it's decent quality up to a certain extent or not. If it is decent, we are able to pick that up. So roughly you can, once you hit a steady state, I'm thinking, 4-6 weeks time, you can expect starting point of about 90-95% accuracy as a deliverable, which comes out from the platform, and then you can, update that with human in the loop.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Jasbir. I hope that answers your question. So, because we have one more question from Mr. Bhaskar. So, Mr.
Yeah.
Bhaskar, please address yourself and put your question to Vikas.
Yeah, thanks, Ekta. Because good afternoon. My name is Bhaskar. I work for a company called Itos, taking care of the Finance Center of Excellence, which is not a regular BPO. And we also have a RPA department or a division within the Finance Center of Excellence. But what I can see is that mostly it started with, it is not, I won't call it as a robotics process automation. Instead, I would call it as a robotics reports automation. Okay, so from your experience, so I am not convinced that it is RPA, because having come from Accenture kind of background, it's very hard to believe unless I am made to know, uh, unless I'm told that you are wrong. Okay, so in your experience until now, in the last 4 or 5 years, how do you see this RPA program getting into it? Does it mostly relies until the reports automation, or it goes to the process automation? Process automation means like I, from a click of a button from SAP or SAP for HANA, I should get my report. Not downloading something and then Excel macros doing something in the background and getting the desired reports.
Yeah. Sure, Bhaskar. Thanks for the question. I can tell you, no, Excel macros are not RPA. Very clear. And I think you have clearly highlighted it's a robotic report automation. It has nothing to do with RPA to an extent. I think it's just automation there. And usually MIS is one of the very first candidates because it's a completely meaningless work. And I'm not putting MIS down. It's a very important piece, but it's very, very repetitive. You have exactly same thing that needs to be picked up in the same place and so on and so forth. So macros are done fantastically there. But from that point, I think RPA has in the last 4 years or 3-4 years has gone way beyond the MIS piece. And if you're just looking at MIS, you shouldn't even have to do anything about it. If the MIS pieces are there, your automation, your robotic process automation should be a report coming into your mailbox and your stakeholders' mailbox when you want, exactly the way you want, with information beyond what a typical MIS would give you, which means analytics, information, graphs, and so on and so forth. That to me is robotic process automation, not something that you have to trigger and click and so on and so forth. But it's of course gone way beyond. You can look at it from a overall process, saying that SAP, S4HANA, so on and so forth. They're also coming up, and they have come up with automation which are built in within their platforms, right? So don't want to make it into an automation information. It does, given me a signal there. But I think the point really is that RPA can do a lot more than just MIS automation. And of course, if you look beyond RPA, go to IPA, there's a whole lot more information that you can handle there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vikas.
Thanks, Bhaskar.
I hope that answers your question to Bhaskar. We
Yes.
have Mr. Ganesh Gupta waiting. So I have a question from Dijit. Dijit, please put your question quickly.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Vikas. Thank you for your insights. I had one question regarding an example you provided about that call transcript analysis. So what you showed was on the left-hand side of the screen, there was the transcript, and right-hand side where your app was working and it was retracting or extracting some of the vital information, and that is how that report is coming up. So my question is, what about that transcript which is on the left? Is that also being like, is there any voice to text, any kind of voice recognition software working for you or from your organization, where from the call it is getting converted to first into that transcript and then the next process, or you already get a transcript and only then the AI part is working?
Sure. Thanks, Dijit. So in our scenario, we already get this transcript, and that's our starting point. Of course, you have call transcriber services and products available, which do some bit of sentiment analysis, but all that they can do is red and green and put that into text. So we don't currently manage and look at other types of media. Our starting point is once you have a document, in this case, it's a native document, but even if it was a scanned document, that's a starting point, Dijit.
No, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Vikas, for answering all the questions. Thank you. Rethinking BPO in the post-COVID-19, being flexible, responsive, and digital adoption. I would like to invite a panel moderator, Anuj Bhalla. Anuj Bhalla is an experienced digital and cloud leader. He was the Senior VP and Chief Delivery Officer at the Wipro Limited. He has led the transformation conversation around capabilities in digital, cloud, IoT, and BPO. Introducing our panel speakers, Mr. Ravi Shankar Panchanathan, Associate Vice President and Business at Digital Transformation Services, Infosys BPM. More than 3 decades of experience, he guides and supports the operation managers to drive business outcomes, cutting across efficiency, effectiveness, and experience metrics for BPM clients across all domains, including the F&A, supply chain, sourcing, and procurement and digital domains. Mr. Gokul Ganpati, co-founder and CEO, Botminds.ai, with 12 years of experience, mainly into enterprise applications and product development. Now he's fascinated towards converting unstructured data into structured knowledge and further towards actionable insights. Rangaraj Sriramalu, Senior Vice President, Digital Transformation, Alurica. Mr. Rangaraj is an astute and result-oriented business leader and digital evangelist with over 25 years of work experience, helping companies structure and implement digital strategies, grow revenue, actualize business value, enhance customer experience across multiple industry verticals in core manufacturing, IT, and BPO organizations. We have Gautam Chatterjee, Associate Vice President with LTI. Gautam is an Associate Vice President with a progressive career of 25 years. He has an expertise and experience in various facets of cloud infra services, practice, IT strategy formulation, mergers and acquisition, architecting, and organization transformations across the industry. Mr. Vikram Nathan, AVP, Platform Solutions Group, Sutherland. Vikram leads the automation portfolio in Sutherland. His role is to design and develop tools and technologies to support Sutherland's and its customers' automation need. With more than 17 years of experience in the ITES industry, Vikram has handled various roles in account management, sales and regional development, technology development, and operation. So now over to you, Mr. Anuj, to start your moderation.
Thanks, Ekta. And good. It's a very relevant topic, and it was good to hear all the 3 speakers. I must say, between all the speakers and the panelists, we have more than 150 years of experience running in the team. With this, let me first start. Since we had so much of technology being talked about, first start with a small personal anecdote. So, I have been in this industry for a long time. When I started, my mom, who's 80 years old, so for the first few years, she used to refer, and introduce me to a friend saying, oh, he works for a company which makes matchboxes. Okay, and I used to always give her that look. I mean, how could you say I'm an IT guy? In the last 1 year, thanks to my daughter, who's 9 years old, my mom now calls me and asks me, oh, this WhatsApp has come with a new feature. Or how do I load my music? I mean, I'm amazed. She was that day calling me, this black big basket now has a daily option of ordering. I don't want to go for large orders. Can I do small orders? So COVID, has made digital transformation, which was an agenda. I must say for the last 5 to 6 years, I made my first presentation on DT, as I call it, in 2015 to a European customer. To now, it's taken away things of a decade to months, right? And I get amazed how, in what a profound way it is structurally changing everything around the mindset of consumers, the mindset of enterprises, and holistically, it's a new era, right? You might call it the fourth revolution, the third wave, in a major way. And switching there, right? I remember a year back, same time, suddenly when COVID hit, right? And I heard a lot of speakers allude to this earlier in the discussion. We didn't know how to get the 150 or 180,000 people to work. Customers were at risk. There were no playbooks available of how that could be done. And it was amazing how through digital transformation, through the whole action, one saw, if not days, in weeks, all organizations across. And I spoke to a lot of peers of mine at that time in Accenture, in Infosys, on how they were doing about it. So it's amazing how digital transformation is here to stay. In my mind, I keep hearing thoughts saying, will it become less, more? I mean, that's open for debate, but a majority, it will change. One for sure, the customer experience, the elevation of customer experience, and it will for sure change the efficiency definitions and hence the cost structure discussions. So if I want to pick up the top three areas, the elevated customer experience, the cost structures, and the efficiency are here to stay. And obviously, it has blurred the entry and exit barriers, right? I remember reading Porter's strategic model, right, in my marketing course during management days. It's completely blurred, right? And the standard definitions of competition are blurred. So for a BPO, who's today a competition and who would be tomorrow, will be very, very interesting discussions as we get it. So we've got an August panel, right, with a further edu. I will quickly start getting some interesting thoughts from the panel. So let me first, Ravi, go to you. And we spoke, you've got varied experience across customers for a large enterprise. In your mind, right, with COVID impact and with digital transformation at such an accelerated pace, how do you think the sector experience is changing, right? And which are getting more pronounced? And how do you think the future is going to be like? It'll be good to get your thoughts on this, Ravi.
Yeah, thank you, Anuj. You're making me a futurist, which is fun and scary. But I'll share some of the experiences. I'll go back in time a bit. In my earlier role, for those of you who don't know, Infosys processes all the income tax returns of India. Okay, and we had won this contract in, I think, 2009, if I remember right, and we've been doing it ever since. All the refund orders are processed by us, and I was the first head of the project. For me, that was the first digital project we handled. That was my biggest exposure. I was leading the operations, and those days it used to be called e-governance. It was not digital. So if I use that as the lens to see where it will head, you look at what the project did. It made 30,000 income tax officers redundant. They don't need to process the return manually. It standardized the processes. It put in a rules engine. So basically 30 income tax officers and about maybe 300 or 350 Infosys employees process all of the country's returns, right? If I keep that lens, and of course there is customer experience baked in, there is always an accelerated goal to make the processes standardized. And this year for salary returns, etc., you have pre-filled, income tax forms, etc. You don't need to fill up. So there's more and more innovations which keep coming in this journey. Now cut and paste this model into the future. Personally, I believe that more and more transactions will become touchless. It could be through streamlining of the processes. It could be through putting, I'm sorry to use the crude word, band-aids, where the processes are not standardized. Or it could be a platform adoption. I personally believe there'll be less and less touch. And of course, it is a there is a foundation of standardization which will be the underlying layer. And through this touchless transaction, costs will be targeted to be lowered. And of course, faster turnaround time and better customer experience are the eventual goals which are being baked in at this point. So consequently, BPMs really need to reinvent themselves because you don't need so many people to touch a transaction. So the model all of us adopt at this point is going to be very different if I keep a 5-year window. Obviously, the best-in-class clients will adopt faster. The slower clients will adopt slower. We'll have our own journey, project managing all these layers of transformation across the client's IT worlds, clients' ongoing projects, the broken silos they have in their organizations, their org structure, their IT not playing with tango with BPM or the business. So all these challenges will be there, but the journey will be around how do you make it lower cost, how do you make it touchless, how do you provide better experience at faster turnaround time. I mean, this is what I'm seeing. Whatever you bake in as transformation will fall into these buckets. So I don't know if I've covered all the points here, Anuj. If I missed something, do highlight.
Thank you, Ravi. I think that was insightful, right? So then moving on, a very interesting thing, see, and today in this, if I were to count how many times the TT word, digital transformation got used, right? It was close to 59 to 60 times, right? And if you see any boardroom discussion, it's seen as an answer for all challenges. If you get into an execution model, it is seen as an answer to all the delivery operational challenges. And I've really walked that path in the last few years. If you get into an architecting discussion of a solution design, that's the first point everyone wants to put. So, at times one wonders that this fancied word, this buzzword, what exactly does it entail, right? A lot of times I see people mixing up the word AI and ML, right? So what does it entail and what does it cover? It's a good time to do a pit stop and look back at the definition of this. So Vikram, let me hop on to you. What do you, can you help us define fundamentally what it means and help us with an example, please?
Sure, Anuj. I think digital transformation is a very interesting buzzword. Like how you said, today, every industry, every company is trying to use that particular terminology. But many fail to understand that it's actually a 3-stage process. It starts off with something like a digitization, then moves into something like called as a digitalization, right? And today, many organizations are in that phase of digitalization, right? And then is when they actually move into the next stage of digital transformation. If I take an example, recently we started working with one of a top 3 OEM major who manufacture desktops and laptops globally. They had around 1,200 employees working on a purchase order processing aspect. Right, they had multiple disparate applications and they were doing a lot of their activity in a very manual fashion. There was a lot of information that was coming in a handwritten and non-digital fashion. So when we as an organization, when Sutherland started interacting with them, the first process that we did is the process of digitization. Sounds simple, but that's the first phase of where we started moving everything into a digital mode. Nothing on a handwritten, even if it is handwritten, it moves into an ICR-based digitized mode. How does it impact? It absolutely brings in a better workforce optimization. There is a better coordination that happens across systems. There were 19 disparate applications that were being used, but now with everything online in a digitized mode, there's a greater amount of optimization that brings in. But we didn't stop there. That's when we went into the next mode of digitalization. What is digitalization? It is making use of the digitized content, right? Having information in a digital mode itself is not sufficient. How do you make use of it? How do you make a revolution out of it? That is where it goes into the digitalization aspect of it. A very interesting term, right? Where you get that accessibility of that information, the data, and an instant communication to everyone in that system. That's why we applied different processes, including Six Sigma, and there was a focus on how do you optimize the places where the process choking happens. How can you consistently use these information? How does process adherence happens, thereby improving a business process itself? That is the process optimization stage, right? Today, many organizations are doing this part, but then comes the digital transformation. How do you do a process automation? How do you do a design thinking methodology? How do you visualize how can be a better to be state of process? So at our end, we brought in RPA, we brought in OCR technologies, we brought in ICR technologies, and what earlier was done in a manual fashion moved into a digitized fashion, became an automated fashion. So today, instead of humans, bots are doing that job. Instead of humans validating, bots are doing that particular end-to-end process. And that has actually driven back a lot of value back to the organization. That's where it fits in terms of the different stages of digital transformation, Anuj.
Thank you, Vikram. That was insightful, and you've set a good context, right, on how this is approached and how it should be seen and with what lens. So let me just shift gears then. Uh, Gokul, you've been an entrepreneur. You've been involved in automation in a major way. We heard Vikas talk in depth about automation and various ways. In your mind, while there are various automation techniques or levels being talked about, what do you see as more prevalent? And also do share with us, how does it impact the cost structures when you go on that journey, which is one of the triggers or the influential triggers for digital transformations?
That's very important and interesting question, Anuj. So the digital transformation we are talking about, I mean, like Vikram said, digitalization, and then digital transformation. The key thing here is the process re-engineering, right? So you have to reimagine the way things are doing, and you cannot just shift and lift. I mean, whatever you're doing, let's do. If someone is doing data entry, let's continue to do that with in the new process. No, you have to relook into or you have to question the basic assumptions. You have to reimagine. You have to re-engineer. It's forced now, and that's not a secret, well kept secret within the BPO or BPM organization. That's what the expectation. The clients expects that. Hey, why you are having 40 FTs in this process? AI is matured, right? Why not mind plus machines? Why not human in the loop augmented model? So that means it actually gives you the the efficiency pressure that indirectly cost pressure, the cost structure model, all those stuff. So it's, I mean, whenever I'm talking to my customers, it's not, I mean, somewhere if you are giving in and actually you can get in other place, like that's the transformation happening, right? You as an organization, you have to push yourself to the higher value chain, and you have to augment your the subject matter experts or the FTs with AI. It's about scale. It's about venturing into completely different processes. So far, if you're confining yourself to, let's say, I mean, most of the L0, L1 transformation happen very early. But if, for example, if you just focusing on L0, why not get into L1? Because AI can do that, all the mundane responses, stuff like that. So that's the transformation currently happening in the BPM, the BPO, BPM, and the KPO industry. Now, maybe just to give an example, right? Let's say call center, kind of process, right? So we all know now the chat boxes and the came in, and then it kind of transformation. Now we got a post transformation. Now in addition to the chat boxes, now we are looking at how the answers can be automated answers. Why not an answer from our bots automatically? Why humans should answer instead of just giving canned answers? Why not a bot can read and understand documents, and it can respond to the ticket? And then even if it is not 100% automated, why not an agent who gets information from the bot, and then he decides whether that can be the proper response to our
that's what the stage we are in, Anuj. I think I covered the point.
Yeah. Thank you, Gokul. In fact, go at this point, I should share this anecdote. So, in my reviews, which I used to do with the account delivery heads, this was the most prevalent discussion. So whenever we will get into saying how much is benefit is coming out of automation, clearly on customer experience, right? Because you can do a lot of event correlation and event prioritization with AI. And then what is the headcount reduction, right? Which impacts your cost structure. So, that's a journey, but it's really making it. Thank you, Gokul, for that. So shifting gears then, Ranga, let me move on to you. There is so much happening in this industry. There is so much of talks happening on platforms. DT is really helping us look at cloud in a very different way. In your view, right, with all this cloud buzzword discussion, crowdsourcing discussions, how do you see this inflection point of BPO and digital adoption from a future perspective? Ranga?
Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, yes, Ranga.
Okay, thank you, Anuj. So thanks for that question. No, before COVID, if you have asked this question, I would have answered it completely different. Okay, we will say we are adopting, we are doing this, we are doing that, and all that for the sake of telling, because BPO and cloud is always, it all depends upon the client telling us. Most of the time, no, if client forces, we do it. Otherwise, it's all on-prem and all the servers. But the COVID has really shaken us. And just to give a small background, because people may not be knowing my company's name, also Alvarica, we are world number 3 in contact center business, and we are Gartner number 1 in contact center business. To be clear, we are the leaders in contact center business. We have 110,000 employees globally. It shook us on March when actually shut down, because we are the Philippines' biggest employers. We have 45,000 employees. Overnight, it shook us, saying that, hey, how can we move everybody into work from home? Because we were not even prepared. As for BCP, we do one Philippines site to another BCP site is between Philippines we'll do, or Philippines will be backed up by some India or some other countries. So this is what used to happen. But suddenly now we have, as you correctly pointed out, in the last 6 months, Anuj, we have completely changed the way we are trying to do the BPO business itself. One, thanks to the big 3, Amazon, Google, and these guys have all, and Microsoft. Between these 3 guys, we had a bid, and finally we have a platform now, completely seamlessly anywhere you can work from that platform. Second, I'm just touching upon a security question in the last session. Also, somebody asked, complete security managed by them, because including filming at any point of time, the agent in front of them, sitting in the front of the platform, AI enabled. Gokul was touching on AI enabled, because this platform is our own. We can completely ensure that agent is getting assisted with insights on real time. So we have built we have bought our own platform now, which has helped us to move, which is on cloud, absolutely, which is helping us to bring the BPO business. And I think you told Anuj or whoever it is, previously, if you want to transition, it used to take months at least 1 or 2 months or 3 months. Now, if you want to start a call center in 5 days, we can do a call center starting. And anywhere in the world, whether it is in Jamaica, whether it is in Philippines, or whether it is in some remote place, we are starting our second center in India in Mohali. Okay, so we can do from anywhere. So the platform, but having said that, are we 100% in the platform? No, I can tell that no, currently we are around 10 to 15% in the platform side. The remaining we have hybrid, and the last and final still brick and mortar, or what I'm saying is connecting to the desktops in the office, and from there connecting to the client applications is around 65% today. Still we are remaining there. But this platform strategy is being liked by the big guys, because Amazon and Walmart and all these guys are our biggest customers. They're all liking this, and they are seeing the potential of us moving slowly towards that, so that the cost is coming down of maintaining the brick and mortar, and as well as security and everything. And the second part is my voice very low? It's fine.
Rana, you might want to be a little more loud.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm outside. Okay, is it fine now? Is it fine? Please. Oh, sorry, Anuj. Okay, so that's what. So the platform strategy of is currently 15% of the overall business we are in, where seamlessly we can move from call to chat to email, you wanted to, or if the customer wants to come in any channel, like for example, he wants to come into WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or something like that, everything can be enabled in one shot. And this platform has enabled us to give the omni-channel experience completely easily now, which was very difficult previously, because we used to have that is called as multi-channel previously. Now it's called as omni-channel. Multi-channel is I also cater to call, I also cater to chat, I also cater to email, but all three are disconnected. But with the help of platform and cloud, we are able to clearly do this seamless experience, both from the customer experience side of it, as well as from our end, because the same customer would have sent an email uh, 4 hours back, and then you would have called us. If there is completely, if there is no connection there, we will ask the same question to him, because the agent who is taking the call will not even know that such an email has been placed by him. But as a customer, the customer will be expecting. So the platform has helped us a big. We have started it. It is 15% of the business today. But as we move forward, I think, maybe by 2023, I will say we will be around 40 to 50%, Anuj. Just only one more minute on crowdsourcing, Anuj. Again, COVID, we used to be on crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is nothing but sourcing agents on fly who may be temporarily working for us for a period, who is not like sign a contract for us with 3 months and they work for 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever it is. And we used to source them because, for example, there are some 100 people who are legal experts. They want to share 3 hours of their time to us. So we used to do this only on peak periods. Like, for example, I'm just taking Amazon again. Amazon may say that a December sale or what is that, Thanksgiving sale, so we need more people and all that. But currently, the crowdsourcing model again has picked up a big way in COVID, post-COVID. We are around 10 to 12% on that. Again, it's not a big number today, but I'm seeing, Anuj, the crowdsourcing may go up to, I'm not saying it will go to 50 and all, but at least may go up to 20% as we see more people comfortable working from home, and both the sexes, like both male and female, want flexibility, means those people being crowdsourced because they have the expertise, but they have not worked for the last 10 years due to whatever personal reasons. We are sourcing them back and ensuring that they are employable and they are flexibly working for us 3 to 4 hours. Anuj, hope I have answered both your platform and crowdsourcing.
Yes, thank you, Ranga. So then shifting gears, people cost is a very big cost structure in the overall BPO operations, right? Ranging from 45 to 55 based on the load mix. Let me move on to you, Gautam. Right, you have experience of both IT and the BPO side. We've been hearing people are working from home. It poses different challenges. In your mind, what is the future of delivery, right, on a people perspective for BPOs, and how do you see it panning out? How do you think the challenges will come, and what do organizations need to plan on this axis? Gautam.
Right. Thanks, Anuj. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, please, Gautam.
So, see, from the post-COVID point of view, when you are reinventing the next normal, there are three things which we need to keep in mind. That the three Ws. One is changes in work, the changes in the workforce, and the changes in the workplace. And these three would define the delivery, the way we would, operate, the delivery organization. Now, work we have all talked about in terms of, what kind of work can be, automated, AIs, the cognitive intelligence, what kind of smart machines we would be using. A number of speakers have talked about that. Workforces, who will do this work? Now that the work is getting automated with AI, cognitive intelligence coming in, AI ops coming in. So how we will leverage the talent pool from full-time employees to managed services to freelancers to gig workers and crowds. And then the third part is, the workplace in terms of with so much of collaborative, teaming and virtual reality technologies coming in, where and when the work can be delivered, right? So MFAC, the three Ws will drive the, the adoption in terms of delivering services in the next normal, right? And
where everything is from home. So when everything is from home, what we have done in LTI is we have a 5-pronged approach, and we call it as XFH, and this can be implemented and replicated across all industries, I feel, including the BPO industry. So it is basically operational from home. So when we are saying operational from home, you need to have the BCP in place. You need to have the connectivity in place in terms of Pulse VPN, or in terms of VPN over the internet. You need to be secured from home. So the security policies and the way the use policies will have to be verified and adopted across the organization, as well as vetted by the clients. And if organizations are bringing in the policy of BYOD, the OS and the antivirus part should have to be implemented in the personal devices. Engage from home is, of course, you need to have people engage from home in terms of various virtual connect sessions, moments that matter for them, in terms of coffee sessions, virtual coffee sessions, virtual family days. Productivity from home would be, you have to have, maybe you can be, organizations can bring in productivity software in order to assess the productivity of employees on machines working remotely, in terms of the actual productive usage of their time while they are working from home. There could be a lot of stringent change management policies, especially since things are all remote, and you can have stand-up calls, or you can have various connect sessions in terms of SLAs, backlog reports more frequently, in terms of being more productive from home. And most important is the growth from home for employees, where you of course keep on reskilling them, retrain them through the online curriculums, online certifications, virtual workshops. I think that's how when everything is from home, the model of this 5-pronged approach with respect to operations, security, engagement, productivity, and growth would definitely fit in well. Anuj.
Great. Thank you, Gautam. That was helpful. In fact, I remember, I started my career as a sales guy. And I remember, our CEO at that time was very particular on productivity. So every evening when he used to reach back to office, he used to fill a form saying how many customers have we met, right? And whenever my boss at that time used to be unhappy with me, he will say, please get your sheets of the last 1 week and show us how many customers you've met, right? Work from home, ironically, completely changes some of this, right? And you did allude to it. When you go back and there are tools available, Microsoft itself has a productivity tool. And the other complication which comes in is the privacy laws. See, a lot of privacy laws, you can't pick up where am I spending time on my desktop, right? Especially the European laws. US is still some distance behind. The GDPR laws really protect you, an individual, and you can get into a lot of cases. So it's interesting, how to look at productivity, especially with automation on one side, right? And do you start an automation from the lower end of the pyramid on L1 skills, or you start from automation of the higher skills and accept bots as a boss? These are interesting times, right? And some of these things are taking a new meaning. So Ravi, let me come on to you, right, on this. In your mind, with talent shortage, while it is an uneven experience during COVID for different companies, Infosys is large, from an IT perspective, from a BPM perspective. With talent shortage in the backdrop, performance management happening, how do you see the people trajectory axis moving, on some of these areas, Ravi?
Yeah, it's a live challenge. Okay, this is something which takes a lot of my time particularly in the last 1 year, when every sleeping client has woken up to transformation, right? So multiple ways we are trying to manage. We'll have to see how successful we'll be. One is what we are trying to do is, can I come to a system where I skill tag employees? We have developed a system where employees can tag themselves if they finish a specific certification in a skill and do projects. And they're incentivized financially also to get themselves trained in certain areas. So there's a lot of focus on redeploying people released by various productivity means into and making them into, if I can use the word, digital workers. So it could be tool deployments, it could be project management skills, it could be even design thinking and kind of skills, a lot of technical skills, of course. It could be helping them do code for bots, it could be helping them do visualization using Power BI or Tableau. So multiple ways we are identifying skills which are in short supply, and we're trying to reorient the people released for this. But obviously, that is one of the many solutions, right? It's not that this is going to solve all the problems. We will run into issues. I anticipate that as this gathers momentum, in some ways, I still believe we are still in an early part of digital transformation. This will only accelerate. I mean, if I look at guidances given by Wipro or Infosys on a larger scale, on that base, each of them is saying that they'll grow, say, let's say anything from 10 to 15% growth. You're going to have a huge challenge scaling up. Internal training will become very important. Cross training will become very important. Project management, which brings all these levers of transformation together, will become very important. So we'll have to keep on reorienting ourselves. And at some point, maybe, this will widen outside India also, because when it becomes less people dependent, maybe, you start looking back at other parts of the world also to develop these skills and not just in India. So I don't have a magic bullet here, but it is hard work at this point in terms of making sure you have the required talent to deliver what you're committing to clients.
Thank you, Ravi. And the generation, millennial generation or the Gen Z, right, have a very different view from the marathon runners on how they want to be looking at on performance appraisals. Should they be annual? Should they be monthly? With the high turnover, right? Interesting aspects. Thank you, Ravi.
No, I think I missed one more point. I think it was touched upon, right? The big plus, while I mentioned the difficulties, I think one big lever which is not exploited and which is a very big focus area for organizations like us is how do you balance or how do you accelerate this whole diversity, right? You have a last data, what I heard from our senior management is you have 38% of our employees being ladies, right? Now, that is a talent pool which shrinks as people go up the corporate ladder. Now, if I can get them back into work in some point, in some way, and that could be through part-time work, we spoke about gig working, right? So can I get them to work 4 or 5 hours a day? Can I upskill them, so that they can manage in the cultural India, can manage the domestic duties and the corporate duties? Because a lot of them opt out of works purely because of family pressure. They would love to work, they're qualified, and all of us know in school and college, they come out with better ranks than guys, right? So given that, I believe that's a huge talent pool we have not attracted well enough. And that is something to be really looked at to bring them back into the working force and get them trained into some of these newer areas.
Completely agree with you, Ravi. Interestingly, there was an initiative I remember running with NASSCOM, was on working in going back to schools and colleges so that their last 2-semester curriculum is more aligned to the IT industry. So they've done a lot of changes. In fact, a lot of IT stuff is now available on the NASSCOM side, right, to enable some of this. But you're right, it's a journey. And this DT part is really going to impact where education moves more from a theoretical standpoint to be a more usability standpoint as you go forward. Great. Thank you, Ravi. So shifting then again gear, moving on to the last lever, which is the cost lever, right? It is becoming competitive, right, in the market with barriers going down on the cost side. Uh, what are the key areas work in the new world of BPO on the cost levers through DT, and how can it impact and how can it differentiate at a pre-sale cycle, at an execution cycle? It'll be interesting to get some views on it. So Vikram, let me come to you first on this. In your view, how are AI or RPA or efficiency, productivity impacting the life cycle in a BPO? And in your mind, what do we see as we go into the future, Vikram?
Okay. I think Anuj, one of the major cost factor when it comes to any kind of BPO setup is your brick and mortar facility, right? And today, in one sense, because of the COVID-19 situation, every single organization in this world had to move into a work from home scenario. What was believed to be an impossible situation became possible, right? Somebody also spoke about COVID being the digital transformation, right? Connecting that with the gig example that Ravi just mentioned, it's a wonderful aspect of area of talent pool that is probably not best utilized. So that's where we also came up with the challenge when Sutherland, like many other organization, when they moved into a work from home scenario, we provide support to many healthcare companies, many companies which is into that area of data where confidentiality is very heavy, right? You really want that data to be within a secured environment, within a brick and mortar kind of a facility, but still work needs to go on. How can you move that setup back to a employee's house, but still make the work happen? How do you also leverage gig economy? So what we also did is like how they say necessity is the mother of all inventions. So we leveraged a portion of facial and image recognition. We built a capability called as Sentinel AI. What that particular solution does is that whenever an employee logs into the system, it validates whether that system, that employee, is that the authorized employee or not. It does a facial recognition of that particular employee and validates on a every minute basis, right? And not only that, it also captures the environment around the employee and identifies if, is there a camera monitoring that particular screen? Is there anybody else outside of that authorized employee looking onto that particular computer and capturing information? Is there somebody taking a photograph? And all these things are being done using image recognition, right? So there are many more components outside of the word AI and ML, and there's a lot of capabilities that is there available, and we leverage that, and so does many other companies. And today we have deployed that capability, and because of which many women talents are able to work from home. Many people who are physically challenged are able to work from home, right? And many people from tier three cities are able to work from their home. That is a digital transformation, and that is a digital transformation using the trending technologies, Anuj.
And thank you, Vikram. And it defines right the extended enterprise, the extended footprint for organizations. Yeah, it's an amazing journey into the future. Great. So let me now shift in to a very different kind of a question and wrap up the session with this. And this is to you, Ranga. Uh, in your view, right? Since DT is such a buzzword in the market, what in your mind, and this has got discussed multiple times, I should tell you, in forums, and a lot of DT leaders have asked me in the past and debated with me, right, who worked along with me, what should be the top three objectives of a digital transformation leader to the organization?
Okay. Okay, it's a like as you said, no, each will have their own top three, but I will give my top three, which I am struggling today. So it may be today's situation with which I am doing it. So let me give my perspective on top
Yes,
three.
please.
See, the first and foremost, as like one is on the cost perspective. How can we reduce the TCO? Because let me give on the contact center perspective. Because customers profiling are changing in a big way. What I mean by that is the persons who are becoming customers now are all born with an iPhone at least, or born in the iPhone days. Let me clearly tell you, they are at least 16, 17 or 18. They'll be touching now the future worlds, So they are all comfortable not calling a call center or trying to email. They are comfortable with chat and all that. So the cost perspective, the customers are wanting multi-channel to be taken care of, omni-channel, whatever you want to call. It's like, can I deflect the call from a call to a chat to an email to a whatever lesser cost can we bring in, or SMS or whatever it is. So that is one big strategy on how do we bring the TCO reduction using digital, because I think, Gautam, or I forgot his name, like he used, digitalization, all we can say at the end of the day, customer is saying, please get me what is the TCO reduction, please. That's point blank. The second one is, again, the previous speaker touched upon it on the security aspects, because we didn't even think about banks and other things can be working from home. So there are a lot of technologies we are forced to bring in for security, BCP complaints, like previous speaker, also speaking BCP for individual. So that's thinking a huge cost, Anuj. How can we manage the cost of security and compliance, but still ensure that the TCO is less, and still ensure that we don't get up into any contractual obligations where we get into some troubles, is second big challenge. Okay, the third is, with all this, how can you ensure that the customer experience, NPS, all these are being taken care, because you can automate it, you can do everything. But is the customer at the other end easy satisfied with a chatbot, speaking with a chatbot rather than a human? Or is the interaction happening like in becoming very robotic or something like that? We have to take care of it. I'm seeing from a contact center, but these are the three. Maybe, some people may put customer experience of the top, cost maybe the second, and security maybe the third. But these three is what I feel, my management and the teams are really working on to ensure that we get it done. Anuj, from my end, please.
Yeah, absolutely in agreement with you, Ranga. And in fact, on a lighter note, when after I had discussed with one of my teammates the objectives, she had sent me a joke with a person with 10 heads and 10 hands, right? But that illustrates a very, very important point. It impacts out and calls out the expectation of digital transformation to BPO in particular and the industry large. It's so pervasive that impacts each area. There is so much to be done and so much to be covered as we go forward in the journey. With this, we will wrap up the session. I would want to thank the panelists, right, who have actively shared their experience. And then let's take some question and answers if they're there. Ekta, back to you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Anuj, for moderating the panel so well. Thank you, Mr. Gokul, Ravi Shankar, Vikram, Rangarajan, and Gautam sir for being here. So audiences, we are open for the Q&A. I've already mentioned on the chat box. So let's make it a little interactive by asking your questions or sharing your insights. That's also fine. So we'll wait for a while, Anuj, to people to raise their hands and ask a question.
Sure, please.
Anyone, any questions, please?
Ekta, this is Naveen here again.
Yes, Naveen, please put your question to the panel.
For Mr. Ravi Shankar on little information around the initiative around the income tax forms being pre-filled going forward. So if you could add a little more insights around it, that will be great.
Okay, that's an interesting question. So for certain categories, what do we do, right? You and I, let's say you have only salary income, and this is the starting of this. You have only salary income and you have only TDS as tax. Let's say you don't have anything else. It's very easy because the data is available. Whatever TDS has been deducted against your name, it is available in the income tax database. So you go to the website, you say, please open the form, and whatever data is available, it will suck in and fill up the form, right? So you just need to verify and say, hey, is this data correct? And you digitally sign it and submit it back. So it's the concept is as simple as that. I believe a percentage of forms can be done this way, and the target of the income tax department is also looking at. See, when I was running the project, they used to say that it takes anything from 12 to 18 months to get a refund, and there also, the income tax officers who ran the project will say very subtly will say, oh, how much difficulties the public faces and all that. There used to be bribes and stuff, right? They won't acknowledge it openly, but they used to say, yes, we know the issues. What happened is, even at that time itself, the processing time was cut to 30 to 45 days. Now, when you have pre-filled forms, you're basically, and then as a taxpayer, you are saying, okay, this is my data is correct, and you submit it back, you can get a refund almost instantaneously. That's the idea, right? Can I pay my refund? Can I trigger a refund order the moment I submit the form back? That's what they're targeting. I think it will happen from this year. For some categories of taxpayers, you don't need to wait for a refund. It's just like an Amazon refund. Amazon, you return a product, you get back Amazon Pay, or you get your credit in your credit card. The concept is very similar, provided all the data tallies. If the data doesn't tally, somebody has deducted TDS against your name, not filled, not submitted it back, then it becomes a little tricky. But otherwise, this will work.
Maybe, thanks, Ravi. I'd like to extend this to next step, because in getting information from database and Form 16 documents, very well structured document, and populating it so that we can give in near instantaneous refund. Great, but if you extend that further, let's say you are getting some documents from your user. I mean, let's say they are uploading their pay slips or their property documents, something like that. Whatever. I'm just giving you a fictional scenario. But the challenge is how quickly you can extract and populate so that the user verifies and confirms. That's the real challenge. And AI currently in a stage where we can even attempt to automate those kind of scenarios. So,
no, everything, and they have access to data. I mean, obviously they won't tell you and me what data they have access, because everywhere we fill up a PAN number, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know where all they have the fingers into. Yeah. But all those steps are part of the discussions. So it's directionally, it is going the same way.
Yeah, I don't want to panic the people, but I mean, at the same time, yeah, that's what I say. No, yes, not only structured data, what you are aware, people are getting access to all form of data, and we can extract and we can show it to you. Okay, please confirm you purchased one in that.
Sorry, I mean, I know we are going into a rabbit hole here, but I don't know. I heard that people who did not disclose their FD interest, okay, they got SMS saying, hey, you know what, you have not disclosed it. Do you want to resubmit your income tax form? I believe it happened in the last 30, 60 days. It came in the press also. So yeah, that is all power of data. There's a lot of stuff happening.
In fact, just sum up the DT part on this question. It's an interesting one. In 2015, when they were coming with this tender, so, I had met the commissioner when they were facing this tender, Ravi, because I used to handle income tax as an account. And, his vision, the business model vision was to cut down the returns, cut down the leakage, and DT enabled that. So that's the trick.
Absolutely.
The business has to articulate the vision very carefully.
Absolutely. 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 Just to share an experience, when I took over as operational head, I did a survey of all the stakeholders on email, of course, nothing complicated. And the number one focus, all of them came back, is taxpayer satisfaction. Right? It was not cost saving. It was not compliance, right? Which you expect normally, right? I want to save money for the government. It was taxpayer satisfaction. The moment everybody aligns around that single goal, like what Anuj you mentioned as a vision, every initiative starts funneling into that. And then it's a matter of execution.
Very great. Thank you, Ravi and Gokul.
Okay, so this is Bhaskar again. My question to Vikram. Vikram, you mentioned that the cost of the facility and the connectivity is the more. But when you compare the cost of a delivery cost historically, the staff cost or the employee cost is almost close to 60 to 65%. Has something changed in the recent past?
No. I'm not referring to something changing. What I'm saying is that in a traditional BPO kind of a setup, your brick and mortar plus your people cost is your majority cost, right? But today with a work from home kind of setup, you're really eliminating around 80% of your brick and mortar kind of a requirement. Not only that, even the people cost, right? If you're having a setup in a Bangalore or a Chennai or a Hyderabad, the cost at which you'll be able to recruit somebody will be totally different from the cost at which you might get a similar or a better talent from a tier 2, tier 3 kind of a city, maybe an Erode, maybe a Bhopal, maybe a Mohali, or even different cities. So these kind of technologies that is available, where if you can validate, right, is this the authorized employee, if you can bring in that level of security even within the work from home. Why are you even bringing in the brick and mortar? It is not only the interaction aspect of it, it's also the security aspect of it, right? That's why you want people to come work from a secured zone. If you're able to bring in that security and that confidence for the client and enable work from home kind of a setup, you can leverage gig economy, you can leverage variety of talent, you can eliminate a brick and mortar facility requirement, you can move into different tier cities where you have a huge amount of talent available and also available at a lower cost. That was the reason I was coming back to in terms of a efficiency aspect of it, not necessarily a cost.
Thanks
Bhaskar,
for clarifying.
yeah, Bhaskar,
Sure.
just since you touched on it, the DM, in the overall digital master category between value and the enterprise journey, you should typically get a cost improvement of 10 to 15%. I mean, it can make finance guy completely declare a party. Between the transport cost cut, between automation of 2 to 3% reduction, between the layering and DG assist, right? If these three parameters itself, if you would work on, any BPO is steering at a 10 to 15% cost reduction. And everyone is in a journey because banks will do it slowly. But if the way the cycle is moving, based on the maturity of the industry and the cost structures, you should see the industry moving to that levels of cost as we go forward in the
Yeah,
journey.
I
And
understand
which
that.
is
Thanks,
really high.
Anuj. I understand that. In fact, even without all these things, all the service delivery people like me are given a cost saving target of a minimum 10%, which we are able to do. So all these things like automation, RPA with a new normal work from home comes on top of that. So obviously, in my opinion, the client will again ask for a further reduction or productivity from all the service provider companies.
You're right. The Fiji digital word. Phygital is the buzzword around it. Is going to really push for that. Thank you for sharing that, Bhaskar.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ekta, do we have
Yes.
time for one more question? Can we
Yes,
wrap up
yes,
now?
definitely. We have a question from Mahesh Chendke. So it's in the chat box. He mentions, could you also elaborate more on the tools like Sentinel AI mentioned during the conversations, covering what is the effectiveness of such tools and acceptance level among employees to such tools? So anybody, your thoughts on this?
I can take that. So Sentinel AI is the solution that I was mentioning about the facial recognition, image recognition. Very good question. Acceptance level. It is a very tough tool for somebody to accept when they realize that somebody is, capturing their biometric and capturing their environment to do an analysis on that, right? But people also tend to agree and accept. It's a choice, right? Either I bring a work to your house, give you the ability to work from your place, or I lose the business, right? It's a choice. And we come with the choice, certain protocol around it. Like we ensure that, the photographs are taken only when the employee is available. You lock the system, no photographs are taken. It is in a secured environment. And the technology is 100% automated. No human is looking into those particular photographs. And we also apply certain protocols around how you need to sit and educate that particular employee. And all together makes it comfortable for that employee, right? You also have a CCTV at your office. Why is that a difference when it's a camera monitoring you in your home? Because probably it's your bedroom privacy. That's where we say that, okay, we also do blurring of that image, so only your image is captured, nothing in the background. So it's using the technology in the right fashion, Mahesh, right? And also educating the employee how these technologies are required for us to move forward. Social media is a killer, right? People say, we even teach our children, don't be too much on your devices, it spoils your eyes, it spoils your mind. But it also has a plus. It's about how we leverage it, how we educate it, how we make use of the true transformation aspect of it. And yeah, there are some challenges that we will have to work through.
Hey, Anuj, I'd like to add up one more quick viewpoint here. Because Ravi talked about skill shortage, and Vikram, Ranga, more and more talking about crowdsourcing and gig workers. So there's a gap that I just want to highlight, because the skill shortage we are talking about is the trained subject matter experts who are years of experience, who can do the process in the efficient way. At the same time, great large work pool we have in the workforce, people who dropped out of economy, all those stuff. So how to connect this two extremes? That's where the AI can play a major role, right? The AI can, we talked about, Vikas also presented about, knowledge capture, knowledge reuse, knowledge equity, right? We are talking about AI, learning from the subject matter experts and converting that as an automation, but you need a human in the loop. We need people like to confirm whether it is right or wrong, or accept, reject, that kind of binary decisions. That's where the subject matter experts, the hard to get experts will train AI, will give input to the AI, so that the AI models will be given to this the gig workers who takes that binary decisions. So that's the AI. This digital transformation embedded with AI actually marries these two extremes beautifully. So you create a standardized process, giving a bot and give it to the gig workers who takes that binary decision, and it's win for all. So I think that's connecting part of the two extremes, Ravi and Vikram Rangata.
Thank you, Gokul. Thank you, Vikram. With this, we will wrap up. Ekta,
Yes.
Right. Thank you to the panel again, and back to you.
Yes. So I think we had good questions today from each session coming up. So leaving you all with a final thought, it is a new normal which is giving enough room for the industries to evolve over the coming decades. Innovative technology enabled and flexible operating models are the DNA of the new normal, especially coded to meet the marked shift in the client expectations. So on this note, I would like to thank all our thought leaders, our partner Botminds, and our lovely audience for taking out your precious time on weekend morning and being here and sharing your insights and making this session interesting with your questions.